Well, good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I have a terrible cold, so I don't usually sound like this. And I'm usually very huggy and handshaky as well, and I was not able to shake anyone's hands. But I'm so happy to be here. I'm here with my colleagues, Geraldine and Amanda, and I'll let them introduce themselves. But my name's Lorraine. I wouldn't call myself an academic. I'm actually a social worker. I started in social work. I have a degree in social work. That's my love. I teach social work at the college, at Durham College in Ontario, which is about 40 minutes east of Toronto. You might have heard of Toronto. So my love is social work, but I've found myself in research. So it's a real marriage for me of research and social work and those two loves. I can't believe how friendly people are in Scotland. This is my third time to Scotland. I think Scots are even more friendly than Canadians, which is kind of hard to believe. Although it doesn't seem like people in Scotland wear sandals. I think I'm the only person in the country wearing sandals today. In Canada, we are so happy when winter's over, we want to see our toes. So as soon as the snow leaves, we start wearing sandals. So thank you for having us. I'm going to share with you a little bit about a research project, but it's really about creating innovations alongside people who have experienced or are experiencing poverty. And we've created two innovations I'm going to share with you. And we have Geraldine, who will speak to you about being part of the project as a service provider with the Municipality of Durham. And Amanda is here to share her experience as being part of the project as a service user and someone who has experienced poverty. So we'll get started. I don't know Max very well, but let me see if I can figure this out. No, wrong button. This one? Here we go. Okay. So this is broadly our research project. It actually was funded for 3 years from the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada. It really broadly is about what is the connection? Is there a connection? What is the connection between multi-generational poverty and financial literacy, financial knowledge? And part of that financial knowledge is related to the tax system in Canada. And I understand that in Scotland, individuals don't really file taxes unless you have a business of your own, which is infinitely wise. In Canada, every citizen has to file a tax return. Even if you are collecting social assistance, you have to file a tax return. Even if you don't have any income, you have to file a tax return. And many of the benefits for people who are living in poverty get transferred to people living in poverty through the tax system. So if you don't file your taxes, you're going to miss out on all of those benefits that are designed to help raise people out of poverty. Even though we know that, we still have a number of people who don't file taxes, and particularly low-income individuals who aren't filing taxes, and so they're missing out. So we wanted to understand, why is that? What's happening? What are the barriers? How could we break down some of those barriers? And then also, what are the more broad financial literacy needs that people might have? So that's what the project is about. It's a 3-year project, and this is just broadly the research that we did. We started with assembling a steering committee, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide, and how we did that, and what were some of the techniques we used to make sure we got the right people at the table. But we designed data collection instruments. In year 2, we collected data. So we did an anonymous online survey of financial literacy levels. We spoke with individuals who are service providers who work with people who are living in poverty. We spoke with people living in poverty. We used the local public libraries in Durham to connect with people living in poverty. I understand in Scotland, we took a bus tour yesterday, and you're free to roam, is what I heard in Scotland. You can go anywhere you want. Not so in Ontario. There are very few actually free public spaces left for people anymore. Libraries are one of them. So lots of people living in poverty go there to access computers, access the internet. So we went there and we talked to people about financial literacy. We did a financial literacy focus group and some literature review. Then we spent some time having 3 sessions where we looked at the information we collected and we co-designed some strategies. And I'm going to tell you some more about those strategies. I don't want to take up too much time because I want Geraldine and Amanda to be able to talk. That slide is empty. Okay. I probably put that in and forgot that I put that in. So I talked about the steering committee that we assembled. We have been guided by Stuart, guided by Iris over the last number of years. We were trying to decide how many years, at least 5 or 6 years, from a co-production approach. So really the novel idea of involving people who are using services in the creation of services and supports. And so we started by wanting to make sure that we had the right people at the table. We got an announcement of the funding in 2020, and the next day the world went into a global pandemic. It was declared a global pandemic. So we planned to actually be sitting at a table, but our table ended up being Zoom. We had all of our meetings on the Zoom platform, and that had its own benefits, challenges, but its own benefits in terms of leveling the playing field and having people feel the same and feel comfort with each other. What we did was we wanted to have people who had experienced poverty or were currently living in poverty with us at the table. And we tried to balance that as much as we could. And then we also looked at the service system, people whose work is with individuals living in poverty. So we looked at service providers who typically work with those at higher risk of poverty, people living with disabilities, Indigenous people, people of color, women, seniors, those sorts of categories. And we had all of those folks come to the table. So we had real experts on poverty in Durham at the table. These were some of the things that I learned in terms of this 3-year project to make sure that we got the voices that we wanted to get and to have people feel comfortable to share. The first thing that we learned was to slow the process down. As service providers, we're always meeting deadlines. We want to get things done. We go to meetings. We have our process. We want to get through our agenda. And we really needed to slow down and back up. And there was a lot of friction around that. I could see service providers really struggling with the amount of time it was taking to get through meetings and hear from everyone. But it was really important for me to be aware of that and be sure that we created space for people to ask questions, to say they didn't understand, to tell us to stop using acronyms and tell them what we were really talking about. So slowing the process down was really important. The other thing that we did was we compensated people with lived experience for being at the table. We compensated them in an hourly wage, and we compensated them based on the hourly living wage in Durham region. We are getting paid for being at the table, so they should be getting paid for being at the table. And that says a lot, right? That really gives a message to the value of them being with us. The other piece that was really important at all of our meetings was trying to create a sense of shared vulnerability. So just by coming to the table with us, they're already saying so much about who they are, right? Lived experts. They're already exposing who they are and what they've experienced. We don't typically expose who we are and what we've experienced at meetings. So we did a number of exercises to be sure that everyone was sharing something about who they were. At the beginning of every meeting, we'd have a check-in. And we would have things like, if your week was a movie title, what would it be today, to describe your week? If you were a Christmas cookie, to talk about, to describe how you're feeling today, what Christmas cookie would you be? And it was a fun way for people to share about themselves. And I think it made a big difference. But again, I was witness to discomfort from service providers about sharing about themselves. But then they really got into it. We had lots of fun, and service providers started to think, we should be doing this kind of thing at every meeting, because it's nice to know how people are when they come to the table. Checking your stereotypes and biases. If you've created the right sense of comfort where people can be honest and share their vulnerability, they will tell you if that's a bias or that's a stereotype. And so if that starts to happen, you've set the stage well. We assigned meaningful roles. We had subcommittees where lived experts were actually working with us to create strategies. They worked with us to design the research questions, to interpret the research results. And so they were meaningful roles. They weren't, it wasn't window dressing. It was actual roles where they had some real decision-making power. And then we delivered results. We created excitement. We shared successes on a regular basis. And of course, sharing a meal. Easy to say, but makes such a difference when you can actually share a meal with someone. It creates those informal conversations where people can really get to know each other and get really comfortable. It creates a sense of community. It can be really, really important. These were some of our data collection insights. So really, really high level. We discovered a multi-generational mistrust, misconception, and fear about taxes. I don't know if Scots fear taxes, but in Canada, there's a real fear of the Canada Revenue Agency. And so there was a lot of mistrust and real misconception about the tax system. There was a lot of lack of education, formally and informally, about taxes. So no one talked to people about taxes when they were growing up. They didn't learn about it at school, but yet we're all expected to file our taxes. In terms of financial literacy, lots of really financially savvy workarounds to stretch a buck, to make ends meet. Lots of things we learned about that. Very little planning for the future, not surprising. When you're trying to survive, living day to day, you're not going to be planning for the future very much. But no wills, no insurance policies, those sorts of things that become really important as we age. Living very close to the bone, no financial literacy, or no financial reserves. And that the other piece we heard was that financial literacy education isn't meaningful to folks living in poverty. It wasn't the right kind of information, and not in a way that's accessible, where they could find it. So those were kind of the important pieces that we heard. We heard lots of really important stuff, but that was really what we heard that led us to these innovations. So we had 3 co-design sessions, and we looked at that information that we gathered, and we designed some strategies to, someone's sideways. It wasn't sideways when I sent it, so anyway. So we developed 2 strategies. We actually had 10 ideas, 10 innovations that we came up with. 5 related to taxes, 5 related to financial literacy. And we narrowed it down to 2, and these are the 2 in action. So the first strategy we came up with was a board game. It's called Tax Tycoon. It actually has a video game component now. And we designed it because we were focused on that prevention piece of teaching youth about taxes. What is a tax return? Why do you have to file it? What does a tax form look like? And we wanted to do it, of course, in a fun way. We've launched that. We've tested it with 2 fairly high needs youth groups in the community and collected some feedback that they actually did do some learning about the tax system. So that will live on in the community. We're in the process of figuring out how these things will continue to have legs in the community. But it's a very fun game. They had fun, they laughed, somebody won, they were engaged for about an hour. So that was one of the innovations that we came up together in those co-design sessions. The other one was related to financial literacy, and this is we called it the Financial Help Hub. We've put it in a public library where we know a lot of people living with low income frequent, and it's loaded through a partnership with the Regional Municipality of Durham. It's loaded with really targeted financial literacy information for people living in poverty. It's also loaded with Prosper Canada, which is a national financial literacy organization that has modules on things like, stretching a dollar, budgeting, tax filing, things like that. And then it's also loaded with 211 Ontario, which is a search engine where you can find any kind of support service that you need around social work, social care. So you walk up to it, you touch it, you interact with it, and find information on what your needs are. We have 3 sleep screens. One says need help with housing, the other one says need help with food, and the other one says, I've drawn a blank. Anyway, I can't remember. It might be need help with finances or financial aid. And people are spending time at it. Our data analytics says that people are spending between 14 minutes and 40 minutes at the kiosks. So they're actually interacting with it, and I would assume in a way that's helpful or meaningful, otherwise they wouldn't be staying so long. Again, we're working on how do we move those into the community. So I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to turn it over to Amanda, who's going to share with you her experiences as a lived expert in creating these innovations.
You're pressing that button?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm honored and I'm very excited to be here. So I thank everyone for creating this space. Thank you very much. So I'm here to share the experiences as a service user, someone with lived experience of poverty and low income. So all of the points that Lorraine shared earlier, they're not just ideas, they work. They simply work. So from the other side of the table, I'd like to share some of those insights from not only my own point of view, but for others who are on this committee with lived experience. So, pardon me. So first is there's value in vulnerability. So we have heard that a lot today about the importance of being vulnerable. But for us, this means an opportunity to share our lives in a purposeful way. We aren't forced to lay everything bare to validate our existence constantly. We became something more as being part of this project. So we have something called a potluck where everyone will bring one dish so that everyone can eat. And this is what this co-production, and Lorraine and Stuart and the whole team was able to create for us. So our insights were valued. My insight was valued. We weren't just mascots of whatever issue it was that we had experienced. We were part of the team, all working towards the same goals. Our contributions were integral to the process, to its success. Just like all of the other experts who were on those, we matter too. Our lives matter too, when we all know what it's like to have people tell you what your life is, to tell you what your job is, to tell you what that is. But that wasn't the case here, because we were able to get everyone on the same page, sharing everything together. So you don't have to, which brings us to no apologies, no shame. Again, we could be proud of what we had. We didn't have to make excuses. We didn't have to justify anything. We could be proud of our resilience, our strengths, our resourcefulness, and most importantly, the true co-production that took place here created a space for us to be proud of it. So we didn't have to carry that shame and continue to do that. We were proud. We were able to be proud of our thoughts, our ideas, and the very fact that we were there. They didn't matter any less because of who we were. I feel they mattered more. They mattered more. And they were getting a good deal on expertise to help inform these projects. So this is where the trust and transparency comes in. As Lorraine shared, there's a lot of mistrust in the system with service providers, but it also comes from the other side as well, right? You have mistrust from the service provider side. You have mistrust of the populations that you're working with because of the pressures that you have, all the things that you see all of the time, and there becomes a generalization. But that wasn't, we had a great opportunity and environment that was able to change that. So as a team, we were able to break down those barriers to evade that hierarchy that's meant to keep us separated. We didn't, if I said something, if someone else said something, it wasn't taken as less then. Simply because of who we were, we became part of everything. So of course, this is also an incredible opportunity to let people know if they want to join in on this co-production. That's an incredible opportunity to gain knowledge and skills, and not just in financial literacy or for those who had difficulty with the tax system. It was everything. It was leadership skills, it's presentation skills, it's self-concept, your self-worth. You're learning how to be a leader, right? You're learning how to network, how to present, how to take up space without all of that shame, those apologies, for most of the time or circumstances beyond your control. If you were born in a constant cycle of intergenerational poverty, you didn't choose that. And we all know that there's incredible barriers there to that. So we also get to learn about the processes from the service provider side. It was interesting to see and hear that information as well, and how they were hearing it and how their systems were working. You learn how to ask questions, right? How to, most importantly, create solutions, not only for yourself, but we all became part of something bigger, something that created actual change that inspired more people to continue these projects as they move forward. So of course, finally we have advocacy and empowerment. You do become an agent of change. You're creating change in yourself, not because something was missing or that something was lacking. It's because this true co-production engages you in a process of revelation and commitment. You become driven to share this with others, with your community, because you know the difference it makes, the difference it will make. So you have that incentive to keep going. You're not thrown in the deep end to sink or swim. You become that ripple in the pond. You're not just that wave again crashing on the shore. You now become the tide that is taken out into the ocean as part of something bigger. You're, speaking for myself, as I wrap up, when I began this project, I was a new graduate with a diploma from Durham College as a social service worker. I've now completed my degree. I'm a registered social worker. I'm engaged in my community as a financial advocate, and now I'm in Scotland with other change makers, other people who are like-minded as well. So what I would like to say, there we go, perfect. So this middle quote, although while it's not mine, it speaks to, I feel, all of us, that we matter. So to know that through this project, our ideas matter, who we are matters, makes the difference. So Thank you very much.
Yes. Hi, my name's Geraldine Morrison, and I'm a policy analyst with the region of Durham in the Social Services Department. Psst, I'm Scottish. I was born here and immigrated to Canada when I was very young, so it's always exciting for me to come back because I get to make new friends, like all of you, and see family. So I was lucky enough to join this project and be invited 2 years ago. And the experience has been life-changing. It's changed my outlook on the profession and the work that I do with the region. And I'm lucky enough to get to interact with a lot of other service providers in the region of Durham. And so I feel like our messaging and everything that we've learned, I'm able to filter that out to those that I interact with. And so on this slide, we have, oops, did I miss one? No, okay. But I want to go to, oh, it might be gone. Okay, that's okay. For me, the work of this project encouraged me to reconsider traditional approaches to work in the ways that I connect. In the way that I connect, solicit information from clients, and find solutions. Typically, problems are identified and solutions are produced. Instead, we as service providers can look at creating solutions together with service users that are mutually attainable and acceptable. We have traditionally relied on engagements such as surveys and focus groups to solicit information, and that's where the engagement stops. What if we can take it further and work to solve service delivery issues together, solutions that can perhaps be more varied, authentic, and applicable? For example, in our group, when discussing food insecurity, participants shared phone apps and other supports that helped alleviate food waste and save money by allowing food to be purchased at a lower cost. These are all outside of the regular food insecurity solutions that we look to. The project reminded me of the importance of those personal connections between service users and providers. I feel that because of the past few years, COVID, connections have been very different, and the value of those connections perhaps lost. My faith in their value was restored and in fact strengthened because of this project work. This project reminded me of the value and greater appreciation for vulnerability shown by all participants, like Amanda, in sharing lived experience to help shape project outcomes and facilitate greater conversations without any negative judgments. There was a tremendous amount of passion for the work from all of the participants. Not only was the project able to meet the objectives and exceed, it was able to produce 2 innovative outcomes, and there is interest to stay involved. Many volunteered to be a part of as many aspects of the project as possible within their own personal situations. And that passion and sharing triumphs as a group was something that I think we're all still celebrating. We will speak of ways that we can amplify the innovations and benefits and how we can use what we've learned to encourage people to use in our personal and social groups. I'm really looking forward to seeing where we end up with this project and how it can be shared within the community and how it will live on when the project stops, because, well, Lorraine says it has to stop, but the government's only going to give us so much money. But anyways, it's going to be really exciting to see the after effects of this project in the community, and there is, from the region of Durham, there is a lot of excitement about how we can share this widely, greater, and really help people further. And so that's really all that I have. So that's, and sorry, I'll just read this quote, different voices at the table is really important to gain different perspectives that will really end up with a better product or project at the end. It seems very intuitive and super simple. We'll just talk to the people. But that's not what we do in government a lot of the time. We don't really talk to the people. We ask questions and we get some information, and then that's the end of it. So thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you. Thank you, Geraldine. Just a few other quotes from people involved in the project in terms of the impact on them. And then we have, I'm sorry, Sam, I know we're over time, but we have like a 2-minute video. Could we play it?
Oh, go on.
To me, the co-production approach means that in order to deliver effective services, that we need to understand the needs of the users and work with those users in the design and delivery of those services. Co-production is an interesting approach as it forces organizations to see service delivery from a different angle, no longer just focusing on the organization's perspective, but seeing it from the client's. Too often we see or hear about services that are brought forward that don't meet the needs of the users. And we see this across various providers, of course. It's not just limited to one. I think you can think of many examples from business, public or private, government, etc. Solutions that are only examined using one lens and are going to fall short. There are so many benefits to having end users involved in that service delivery design, not only to save time and money, but really to come to a place where all can agree that the end result will serve a benefit to the users and also the service provider.
Hi, my name is Merrick Petrowski. I'm a peer support at Canadian Mental Health Association. I'm also a recipient of Ontario Works. Building Bridges Together has presented the opportunity for me to be a part of the team, for me to make a decision with the team about programs that affect me. Being accepted and being promoted by the team to feel empowered has really helped me. It's helped me not just to understand and take part in these programs, but to do things in my own life that maybe I've been putting off. It's given me the opportunity to network as well. So when I have questions about things, I know where I can talk to somebody. If I know somebody that has questions, I can direct them to. Being part of the team and truly being part of it, being accepted, having my voice heard, being appreciated for everything that I have to offer. It's made me feel better about myself, better about the community, and more optimistic about lots of things. And I can't thank everybody enough for offering us this opportunity. Thank you again.